not been built on solid foundations. Although nobody can dispute that Italy's society, politics, and culture have been turbulent, its institutions have remained largely the same since 1948. The choices that post-war Premier Alcide De Gasperi made in the sphere of foreign policy, Atlanticism and Europeanism, remain crucial for Italy's geopolitical strategy today, while the values of the post-war constitution command assent across the political spectrum. It goes against ingrained habits of thought to regard Italy as being, along with West Germany, the most striking example of a successful transition to democracy during the so-called second wave of democratization after 1945, but I believe that is how we should think about it. Since 1994, Italy's political parties have tried no fewer than 3 times to amend the constitutional framework established between June 1946, when Italians elected a constituent assembly, and January 1948, when the text negotiated and approved by the Assembly came into force. Yet none of these attempted reforms dared to touch the 12 fundamental principles upon which the Constitution is based, or to amend the rest of the first half of the document, which deals with the rights and duties of the citizen. Would-be reformers concentrated rather on reforming the institutional framework that comprises the Constitution's larger second half. This has led to some tinkering. Regional governments were given more powers in 2001, and in September 2020, a national referendum ratified an amendment that reduced the number of elected representatives in the Chamber of Deputies and the Senate. On the other hand, 2 substantial reorganizations of the Constitution's second half, in 2006 by a centre-right government headed by Berlusconi, and in 2016 by a centre-left coalition, were rejected at the polls, in both cases by approximately 60% of those who voted. This book had its genesis during the 2016 referendum campaign. The referendum debate illustrated that millions of Italians were profoundly concerned about the organization and purpose of their state. It was a vibrant exercise in civic patriotism, and although both sides were convinced that their opponents were fools and knaves, beneath the surface acrimony there was mutual respect for the contending views. Italians were aware that their nation was stagnant and in decline. They had to decide whether their circumstances merited overhauling the institutional structure put in place by the Republic's founding fathers. They decided not to, by an unambiguous majority, but they thought about it hard. It was an impressive example of democratic maturity. One, moreover, that suggested that to grasp fully the complexity of Italy's present and future, one simply had to go back to the origins of its democracy and study the republic constructed after the fall of fascism. So I did, and this book is the outcome. Its argument, put simply, is that the resilience of Italian democracy was forged by the completeness of fascism's failure and by the democratic culture that was painstakingly acquired after 1945. Italy sank into an abyss of moral, military, and political humiliation between 1940 and 1945, but experienced a democratic apotheosis in the following 10 years. Its democratic miracle preceded the better-known economic miracle. Indeed, the country's economic transformation in the late 1950s and 1960s simply would not have been possible had democratic transition not already taken place. The use of the word miracle might seem to suggest that Italy was the beneficiary of divine providence, or certainly much good luck. Good luck was certainly necessary. Italy's post-war leaders faced the task of rebuilding a war-torn nation that was as divided, geographically, politically, and ideologically, as any nation of its size could be. Many Italians longed for a socialist millennium. Others wanted a crackdown on modern ideas. Some looked to the United States for assistance. Millions of others gave their allegiance to Moscow and regarded the Soviet Union, or their idealized conception of Soviet life, as a model to be implemented in Italy.